Call the meeting to order. I wanted to play a little short, it's a little 5-minute video. This one I've had it for quite a while, and it means a lot to me, and I hope it'll mean a lot to y'all too. Yesterday was Flag Day. John's going to maybe after this he can say a few words about Flag Day and before you get into the But anyway, so this one, I don't know, this sort of touched me, and I hope it touched you. After I was trying to get it set up here, turns out TL is Methodist didn't consider this. He's a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient. So without further ado, I'm hoping it's going.
Great from my even back to this piece, the best piece of clothing I ever owned. Hey, and I wear it all the time. I don't care what other people think. They don't think I have so many clothes. I don't. Because, you know, it's very convenient. At least I get to show the taxpayer where his money goes. Get a haircut every Friday. But let me also just leave you with in mind that, you know, if we're in time. You know, there's a saying among the veterans that it is those that have fought for it, that life and respect slavery, that the protector will never know. You have never lived till you're almost done. And it is us veterans, especially the wounded, that pray for peace once in a while. Because we have to suffer the wound. And in conclusion, let me tell you a poem that I promised this lady. She's the grandmother and mother of all of us soldiers. This lady is the greatest one. She's a nun. And a poem was given to her by a veteran. And she wanted me to recite it from everywhere I go. And the poem goes like this. Hello, remember me? Some people call me All Glory. Others call me the Star of Pennsylvania. But whatever they call me, I'm your flag. The flag of the United States of America. Something has been bothering me. So I thought I'd talk it over with you because it's about me and you. Not too long ago, people lined up on both sides of the street to see a parade go by. Actually, I was leading that parade, proudly waving in the ring. And when your daddy saw me coming, he would immediately attack and place it over his back shoulder, so his right hand would be over his heart. And you were standing there, right next to your dad. You didn't have a hat. And your little sister, not the Peter John, was standing right next to you. Both of you had your riding on your home. What is happening? I could feel as far as I used to. I'm still standing the flag. I see children around playing cattle. They don't seem to know or care who I am and what I stand for. I saw an elderly gentleman to the cattle. But when he saw others with their dogs, he turned around and slowly walked toward me. Hey, I'm still seeing the flag. A few stars have been added to the parade along the road. A lot of blood has been shed. Is it a sin to be patriotic anymore? Have you forgotten who I am? What I stand for and where I've been in your personnel, Korea and Vietnam. Take a good look on these days at the going on road. Of all the names of all those that never came back. They gave their lives for this great nation to be free. When you salute me, you salute each and every one of them. Well, it won't be long now. The street, lead this parade, and proudly waving the freedom. So when you see me come, stand up straight and salute me. And I salute you by way of the flag. And then I know that you remember. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a beautiful word. And you remember back in the 60s when they were burning the flag, when the guys were wearing this flagging the field of pain. When they were the draft bar taking off the panel. I find those guys whenever I say this one. And now they come up to me and they ask to forgive me. And you know what I ask them? Because of you, I ask them, how does it feel to enjoy freedom at the expense of my buddy's life? In the 10 years that we fought in Vietnam, we lost 58,000 men, to include 8 women. We have 2 women that are unlisted residents. We never won, not because we weren't defeated, but because we were never allowed to win. And I don't want to repeat this one meeting because they are giving all their tomorrow for our today. In conclusion, I know that you have this question in the second box of the movie time. The question is, would you do it all over again? Most famous question on children. They pay me for answering the question. I think a lot of money. Yeah. To do it all over again, I'll answer you in this one. There'll never be enough paper to print the money. Not enough gold and or enough for me to have to keep me from doing what I did. I'm proud to be a director, and even prouder to have earned the privilege to wear the famous green ring. I live by the motto of duty, honor, and commitment.
Okay. You are.
Call to order the meeting of the McKinney chapter number 63 of the Sons of the American Revolution today, June 15th, 2023.
I didn't have it.
I don't think so. There's a Mitzi Mullins.
Okay.
This time, Judge White, would you please lead us in invocation?
All right, please stand if you would. Our Heavenly Father, we thank thee for this day, this beautiful day, and the opportunities we have as Americans to live in this free country. We thank thee for the organization that Sons of the American Revolution. That would continue to bless our efforts to honor our veterans, honor our country, honor our history. Say these things in the last time of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Now, would you please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additionally, Peter, will you lead us in the pledge to the Texas flag?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one nation under God, one and indivisible.
And additionally, the pledge of the SAR clause.
Of course.
We, the descendants of the American Revolution, move out there, sacrifice, and that I the United States of America.
All right, please be seated. We have a wonderful program tonight. Thank you all for coming. We also have some new members who will be inducted. And at this time, we normally pass the microphone around for self-introductions. Bill Taylor, member here. Living in Frisco and South Motivated City.
Hello, my name is Keith Pierce. I'm here from McKinney. It's my first meeting. I'm happy to be with y'all.
My name is Carolyn Foster, and I'm in Princeton, Texas, originally from Oklahoma City. And this is my first time being here. I'm very privileged.
My name is Tom Foster, and I'm very happy to be here tonight to be inducted as a member into this organization.
My name is Nathan White, live here in McKinney, and my wife Wanda. Jim Waterman, and I brought a guest, Chris Bernard.
Matt Hoover and Ned Hoover, both members of the McKinney.
Hi, Tom Wilson, member of the McKinney chapter, and my wife Carol.
McKinney, my wife Joy.
I'm Drew Caldwell, I'm getting inducted tonight. This chapter, and I live in McKinney.
Jerry Kenny, McKinney chapter. Be also a dual member here, also in Sherman. And I'm sitting here with our honor guest tonight, Josh Dunn, fireman, who's going to be public service. Ed Welton, dual member of McKinney, and Edmund Carolyn Sherman.
John Greer, dual member with McKinney, Dallas, and Edmonton, my main chapter. I am the new committee chairman of the flight committee and the public service committee, and everything that's good.
I'm Schultz, member of McKinney.
Hi, Peter Ford, from the McKinney chapter, I'm the treasurer here.
Rich Bonaparte, I'm the chapter registrar. New members, I see a few.
Hi,
Plus Ruby Secretary, and online we have Tom Van Fossen, Bob Noe, Ray Hargis, and somebody named Mitzi Mullins.
hi. I'm the sister of Tom.
My name is Bill Graham. I'm with the Oklahoma Society, the Tulsa chapter. I just moved down here 2 months ago and looking for a chapter to get affiliated with. And my wife and I live in Melissa.
On the right spot, so.
I'm Pete McClellan, I'm a member of the McKinney chapter, and I'm also the Children of the American Revolution liaison on behalf of the chapter. Joe Chenoweth, I'm a member of this chapter, and I live in
Bart Morgan and Richard just signed the paper today, and my wife Sammy did it.
I'm John Ray with Plano chapter, and I'm the assistant secretary of PXS.
I'm Tanner Wallace, I'm a member here.
Anybody have any old business? I know that we had some good participants in the Audie Murphy parade. If someone could, who attended that? Tom? Does anyone want to speak on the Audie Murphy parade?
And I attended it, and Bart attended it. Wonderful.
And we
That was it.
I was there too. And Mark, want to share?
You were there, some video.
Yeah, do you want to share a little bit about the parade? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, just.
Oh. I need somebody's time. Okay. So we had a good turnout. I think we had about 14, 15 guardsmen, and maybe 13, and then 2 of the guard children participated also. We had a float. Well, basically we had our we marched, you know, had the float and went through the parade and had had a great time, and it's a really worthwhile parade, the Audie Murphy parade. So we had a good time, and anybody who cares at some point, well, this guy over there was standing on the sidelines, and he actually recorded us marching around. And Bart, he got your 1956 Packard, right? 46. Whoa, I lost it. 1946 Packard, and he was nice enough, we had one of our members of the Dallas chapter, because we were marching in. I
This is the
thought we were gonna
meeting
have
we're trying to
a
do.
record, but.
The meeting with Mama Ed.
Got to talk, while they were going around, you got to ride in that nice, it's like a brand new Packard, and so, that worked out really well too, so, excellent.
Yeah, and they do a nice breakfast and lunch for the veterans, and then they have this great ceremony. Nadine, Audie Murphy's sister, just passed away this January. So they did a big thing for her, but just, it was so good.
That's normally in Farmersville, I believe, maybe the
Yeah.
second week in June, yes, I'm right. Also, we have upcoming July the 4th in McKinney, if I remember correctly, that, are we marching in that?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Yes.
so, yeah, Chris with the chapter sponsoring that Fourth of July parade, we will have a float that people can ride in, they don't want to march in the parade, they can ride in there, because it's about a 2-mile path around. So anybody that wants to do that, at least contact me. If you don't have a uniform, I think there's enough people around here, we might can find a uniform, enough of a uniform so they can join us.
That's actually on the morning of July 4th, right?
It is on the morning, 10 to 11 o'clock down McKinney. If you don't march, come and get up the front and yell at us when you go by. It's nice to see that friendly face in the crowd.
Does anyone else have any other old business?
Where's this one going?
Yes, sir. Let's see, yes, we.
Pass it forward, yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass it forward, yes, sir. Any additional new business? Do you have any new business? Yes, sir.
I don't know if y'all are aware of it, but there is a military heritage collection in Nevada with thousands of armored equipment and uniforms and guns and Humvees and Jeeps and airplanes hanging from the ceiling. Guys got 2 Predators. I mean, I never saw anything like this. It's amazing.
Where is it?
It's on Country Road 580 in Nevada, out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around it. I accidentally saw this tank killer set by the building, so it's pretty neat if you.
Yeah, good to run out there sometime.
Yeah, and he had lots of children that come out and does his, have to, they would come and make a free with they run.
Yes. Any additional old business? All right, at this time, I'd like for the new members, please come up. Drew and Pam, can you come up as well? Yes, it's okay. So this evening, we have 2 new members that are being inducted, Drew Caudell and Tom Foster. And Drew, I have your rosette, and I've given Tom, give you yours to your wife. And I want to ask you we'll go through the induction ceremony at this time. Compatriot Caudell and sorry, if this is accurate, Mr. Foster, compatriot Foster, do you, as a descendant of one of the patriots and the heroes of the American Revolution, reaffirm your ancestors' faith in the principles of liberty and our constitutional republic?
I do.
And will you pledge to support the National Society and Sons of the American Revolution?
I do.
I take great pleasure in presenting you your membership certificates. I have one for each of you. Here's Tom.
Thank you.
Here's yours. Thank you. And the rosette, talking about giving yours to your wife, and I will pin yours on you, Drew. The rosette, is the official resignation emblem of the Sons of the American Revolution. The colors are blue and buff. They represent the color and the colors of the uniform worn by General George Washington. So please wear it proudly. Compatriot Caudell, we welcome you to the McKinney chapter. Patriot Thomas, welcome you to the McKinney chapter. We ask that each of you work with us to fulfill the purposes and the objectives of the Sons of the American Revolution. At this time, we'd like to, first, I want to pin you, Drew, and ask your wife to pin you. And then if each of y'all want to, you'll have a minute or so to give us a little bit about the background of your ancestor if you'd like to, or a little bit about your background and kind of what drew you here to our chapter. But this time we can. Give the back. Possible you to go first.
Yeah, yes, sir. Our original relative was private in Connecticut. Served. And we currently the farm that we received in 1870 from the Illinois Military Industrial Tract that was awarded to soldiers because they didn't have enough money to pay.
Don't really know a lot about my sister. I do know he was my fifth great grandfather on my mother's side. And his name is William. It was kind of confusing. It's either Pettypool is the last name or Petty is his middle name and Pool is his last name. So there's some confusion. I know he signed up twice. The first time he actually had somebody serve for him. And then he's only served for like 2 months. The second time, the only reason I know that he applied for a pension, but it wasn't eligible because he didn't serve long. So, but he took the oath third time. So I don't know what that. I guess he signed up twice and then actually took the oath, the pledge. So I've got to do more research on him.
Well, anyhow.
Yeah.
Okay. I give you my iPad.
Okay.
Great.
That's better.
Yeah,
sure. I'll love it, Boston. Yours for us and possibly. I got to turn it off.
Want to do it in front of the flag instead of keep it properly?
Yeah.
You want to hear?
I'll move it.
Yeah, initially or.
What we got there? Talking about your better half. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
real quick. Hey, Drew, thanks for sticking it out. It took us a long time to get you here and get it through. Appreciate your patience. Work hard. So congratulations, brother. We're really excited.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think it was back in January when they actually did paperwork.
And Mark, I'll just say, for Tom, Tom's dad's a highly better, has a lot of medals and a lot of history. And Tom's, his whole life experience is interesting. So, Tom, we're excited to hear a little more about you later on.
Yeah, program in itself, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now at this time, we will have the public service award.
One thing before that. Drew is a McKinney Police Sergeant, did I get that right? Yeah. So he's, and his wife, we know her as Officer Mo. She's okay, I mean, it's a, give me the title. School resource officer, or at the school where my grandson was before he went to middle school. Mark still got one daughter there, and the other daughter was there because she's the same age as my grandson Jack. So anyway, and she is great. She does get, I told him we're gonna inspire, and we're gonna get her a medal before you know it here. She's really good at what she does. And I hopefully a lot of you guys know we really need that type of help right now. So anyway, okay, so Joshua Dunn, would you come up, please? So this is Joshua Dunn. He's the McKinney Fire Department. He's in the emergency medical services, and he's going to receive the Emergency Medical Services Award tonight. Joshua Dunn has been a paramedic for 9 years and has been a McKinney firefighter and a paramedic for 8 years. He has served as a field training paramedic with McKinney Fire Department 5 years and is a certified flight paramedic. He has worked as a helicopter flight paramedic for Care Flight for about 2 years, 2.5 years, during his off days from the fire station. Okay, so he's putting in double duty here for us guys. Okay, so anyway, so don't forget that. Okay. Joshua says that Joshua says that his proudest moments at work happen whenever everyone involved in the process of medical care can come together as a team and help save someone's life. Tonight, we are recognizing this outstanding paramedic with the Emergency Medical Services Award. He was nominated for this award by his peers at the McKinney Fire Department, who described him as a selfless leader, and quite possibly the best paramedic in the city. Wow, that weight's getting heavy. I looked over there and I noticed he was. Oh my goodness! On behalf of the McKinney Chapter of Sons of the American Revolution, I would like to thank Mr. Dunn for his service to our community and invite him forward, which I've already done, to receive the certificate and the medal recognition for his work in this. Okay. Okay, here is your medal, and it's my understanding if you're, and I'm pretty sure the fire department has before, but you can actually wear that when you wear your dress medal. Be sure so you don't get in trouble, but y'all think you get in trouble anyway. But you can wear that as that, and then here is your certificate. Again, I can't say enough how about how proud we are to have you watching out for us. So like that. Okay, there you go. Thank you so much.
Now, at this time, we will have a presentation of the Vietnam veteran. Not sure. John, are you doing that?
One of the most enjoyable things I've ever done since I joined the Second American Revolution was honoring our Vietnam veterans. Memorial Day, I presented 35 Vietnam veterans. 2012, President Obama issued a proclamation for the next 13 years. We would honor our veterans that served no matter what branch of service they were in, no matter where they were located, as long as they were on active duty from November 1st, 1955, May 15th, 1975. That is what the Department of Defense recognizes as the Vietnam period. Do we have anybody that qualifies for those days? Would y'all please come forward? You already got it. You already got it. If you don't have a pen, would you please come forward?
John, have you gotten your pen? I do. Thank you.
Carry one of these in my pocket everywhere I go. So just give me every time we run into someone, we do it. Sit right there. We have Martin Fitz, my pleasure to present you this dance. Recognizing you for your service during the great time of John City. We thank you for that service. I'm gonna read this to you. Okay. The lapel here. The eagle represents courage, honor, and dedicated service to our nation. As one of the most recognizable and notable American symbols, it is emblazoned with distinction on the numerous military insignia. The blue circle around the hem represents the captain of the American flag. It signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The circle shape and blue color also match the official seal of the commemoration. The laurel leaf is a time-honored symbol representing victory, integrity, and strength. Stripes behind the eagle represent the American flag. The stars, the 6 stars, represent the 6 allies who served, sacrificed, and fought alongside one another: Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Republic of Korea, Thailand, and the United States. And on the back of the pen, it says, "A grateful nation thanks you for your service." Thank you for your service and welcome home.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Our minutes are posted on the website. Hopefully, you had the opportunity to review those or you have reviewed them. So at this time, I'd ask for approval of the minutes. To have a motion for that. Yes, sir. Motion and you seconded. Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Hearing
Hearing none. Thank you. Okay, now I call up our treasurer, Peter Ford, our treasurer report.
All right, here's the treasurer's report for June 15, 2023. At our last meeting, the available balance was $6,203.24. This month, there's single expense, which was, all right, I'm afraid of my glasses, and I'm sorry, I hold this out. I'm long enough. $59, which was for ROTC medals. This month's income consisted of $1,256.50, which was from the Texas Society. That was the annual membership dues. Finally cleared through. We also had, which was kind of surprising, which is $25.75 from the Amazon Smile program. So for some reason that's still going on. So if you're using Amazon Smile, continue. There's no pages. Our current bank balance is $7,436.49. Any questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Peter. Do we have any other business or any announcements from the floor? Yes, sir.
I might be remiss if I don't mention my sister. She is the DA.
Okay, chief.
One was her certificate.
that just made my.
They've got you.
Really stuff, so I want to thank her for sticking with me and helping make this happen. Thank you, Nancy.
Yes, and she's, yeah, so you should be on Zoom, right? Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for having her join us.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He wanted to know if there's any new business. Tunnels and balance.
The tunnels, towers.
Oh, okay. So you can talk about it, the executive committee has been considering, basically, giving a donation to the Tunnels and Towers Foundation. I don't know if y'all might, I mean, you've heard of that, you'll be here, okay. So it's a very, big organization. I think they're like 96.1% of the money goes back to the, basically, our veterans, first responders, and basically what it is if a veteran or basically if a military person loses his life in line of duty, basically they pay off the mortgage on the home, and then they also do various other things too, more, and they also modify the consultant. So we're considering doing that. I don't know how you want to handle that, but you want to think about it and talk about next week.
Right, maybe we can, we were considering possibly between $250 to $500, if I remember correctly. For a 1-year donation, if I remember right, and there's other SAR groups that are doing that. So it's tunnels, for towers, and we'll talk about it maybe the next meeting, but if y'all could look at that and we can maybe make a decision by next meeting. Any other business from the board? Yes, sir.
I will be going to a meeting at the VA in a couple of weeks. And they will be giving us a list of all the new items that they need. So we'll have that as our needs list. And they're also going to what we're going to be doing at the VA. We're starting to loosen up a little. Where we have been doing a pre-4th of July luncheon for them. What they are doing right now is they are setting up box lunches where they're going to have everybody just walk through and they're going to give them a box lunch and they're going to cook hot dogs outside. So whether or not we're going to be needing right now, I'm not sure. What we're supposed to do. We do without all this coming up.
And this is the VA in Bonham.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, sir. And is that on July the 4th on that?
Yeah, so we've always got pre-4th.
Oh, 3-4. Okay, right.
And they're not doing that, they're gonna do something for the veterans,
Yes, sir.
but they have a volunteer on it. And everybody will go out there. Box lunch. Well, we used to have that down the stuff. Right now, that's as far as right now, I know that's what's going on. And when we go up there, if we are involved with veterans, we still have to have the shot and the COVID shot. And we're still have to do it fast. So you don't interact with the veterans, you don't have to do that. Okay.
Thank you, John. Anyone else have any additional business from the board? Right. Well, in a second, we'll have Tom will come up to introduce our speaker. He brought with him a few books. I purchased a few, and you can twist his arm, he'll sign it for you, and he will make it out to whoever you'd like to have it made out to. We're very fortunate to have him here. He's very accomplished author. And Tom, would you like to come up? Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks, words. Okay, start off with our historical moment that we've been doing. This was an interesting one again. Thank you, John, for providing this one. This was interesting. This is more about the history of it. I think something happened in the SAR. So,
The first law, commitment enforcement medal was presented to presented by President General Walter Gage Sterling to John Edgar Hoover at his FBI office on October 16, 1968. This was printed in the SAR magazine in 1969. Hoover sent a letter to Sterling dated October 16, 1968, thanking him for the medal and included pictures taken at the presentation at the Hoover office. Sterling was the Texas SAR president from 1964 to 1965. He was one of the SAR members that started the Houston chapter with 45 members of the Paul Carrington chapter. Graduate of the University of Texas, he served as a captain in the United States Army in World War II. According to former state president David Pearson, Sterling was very wealthy and had a chauffeur Rolls Royce. All could be stores. The Houston chapter was closed in the late 60s or early 70s. Madison Wright was the last active member. Texas SAR got an unexpected windfall in the amount of money that was in their treasury. That's the historical moment. Okay, so next up, I would like to introduce our speaker, but I think in the interest of time, if you look in your agenda, your brochure there, I put the whole thing on the back, but needless to say, he's spent a lot of years in service to our country. Thank you so much for that. He's still serving our country. You may or may not talk about that, but he still does a lot there. And also, he's an award-winning author. Okay, 16 books and all sorts of magazines and other things. So with that, John, I'll turn it over to you and go do it.
Okay. Can you hear me, or do I need to use that speakerphone?
Use your command voice.
I will try. What a great honor to be here amongst so many wonderful patriots. I can't tell you how much I wish that I could be a son of the American Revolution, that my wife could be a daughter of the American Revolution. Now, the only revolution my grandfathers fought in was the Bolshevik Revolution. He fought against the Bolsheviks and lost, and so came to America. So, but we don't celebrate that revolution. So I wish I could. But you have a great lineage, and what a great honor it is for you, all of you, particularly the new inductees. Let's give them a round of applause. Well done. Well done. Well done. I mean, that's great. And no matter what they served, they stood up and took the oath, because you could be killed for taking the oath. So think about that. Don't ever diminish that. And I know you're going to find out all the great history about it. Because whether you serve for, 33 days or 300 days or 30 years, I mean, you have done something that many people don't do. They don't stand up for what we believe in. Now, what do we believe in?
Freedom.
Very good. We believe in freedom. Freedom. What is freedom? Are the Chinese free? Freedom. If we're going to be standing up for freedom, we should probably know what it is. And if you want to articulate this to a younger generation or to anyone, you have to know what it is. Now, one of the things that I do is I try to help teams, leaders, and organizations to change fuzzy thinking into focused thinking. Most of the time, we have fuzzy thinking. I want to do something, but I don't know what it is, and eventually I'll fall into something, but I don't know what it is. That's what happens to most people in life. Most people don't know where they're going and don't know how to get there. But let's talk about freedom, because freedom is something that we think is important. Now, there's three subcomponents to my definition of freedom, and I think you're going to want to have embraced the same idea. One, national freedom. We are not ruled by England or anyone else. We are ruled by Americans. Two, political freedom. And then three, individual freedom. So we have national freedom, we have political freedom, and we have individual freedom. Is China free? Does China have national freedom? Well, China, communist China, is ruled by communist Chinese. So they're not ruled by Russians. However, if you're a Chinese Uyghur and you're basically in a concentration camp and they're raping the women and brainwashing the children and taking pieces of body parts out of people to be able to sell on the open market, that's what the Chinese communists are doing to the Uyghurs. They're not free, but the Chinese could say, we are free, we're not ruled by any other country. Russia could say, we are free, we have not been ruled by any other country. What about political freedom? Does China have political freedom? No. Okay, huge no there. So suddenly we're getting into a definition of freedom that people can understand. Because in World War II, how many Russians died for Stalin because they hated the Germans and wanted national freedom? 26 million. Well, not all of those fought, a lot of those were victims. But the bottom line is that's how many people they lost dead that we know of. If the counting is right. If the counting is right. So think about that. They will fight in great numbers for national freedom. And people around the world will do that. They'll fight for national freedom. It's my home, you don't belong here. How about political freedom? Political freedom. The Russians don't have political freedom. The Chinese don't have political freedom. In fact, they have a choice between authoritarianism and prison. They either accept authoritarianism or they get shot or go to jail or something else. So what is authoritarianism, which is on the march right now? That is when you hear about people that say, okay, we have a autocracy, we have a plutocracy, we have an authoritarian leader who is telling us what to do. Now, we believe in freedom, right? So we believe in national freedom, political freedom, and individual freedom. If you want to look at that definition that is sharper than just a fuzzy kind of thinking of freedom. If that's the case, is freedom a universal value? Does everyone want freedom on earth? Say again?
Say yes.
Who else would say yes? Raise your hands. Okay, you know why you say that? Because you're Americans and you're Texans and we believe in freedom. But that's not true. It's not a universal value. Freedom is not the universal value. Power is the universal value. Power. And if you want to see the problems that we have today in our nation, it's because some people believe more in power than they believe in freedom. And if you believe in power, then you become an authoritarian and you take power for yourself and you don't give it to anybody else. Because this concept of freedom gives political and individual rights to people. Now, political freedom. In America, what that means is we have the ability to vote for someone who's supposed to represent us, and they, in our republic, represent us and our views. That's what is supposed to happen. That's our political freedom. What political freedom do they have in China? None. They don't vote for anybody, and when they do have a plebiscite of any kind, there's only one guy on the ballot. So it's a pretty easy vote. Now, individual freedom, national freedom, political freedom, individual freedom. What are our individual freedoms? Life, liberty, and look at the Bill of Rights.
Exactly right, exactly right. We enshrine. First, we believed in political freedom. We created a constitution and we said, this is how we're going to do it. And then we enshrined in that constitution individual liberty. Individual liberty. We decided that you would have rights that would be enumerated and could be read and could be understood. The right to assemble, the right to speak, the right to bear arms, all of these things that are in our Bill of Rights. Not many other countries on earth have that. No autocrats want to give that to people. Why are we Americans exceptional? I don't mean Americans by, why is America exceptional? We say that we are an exceptional nation. Why do we say that? Because we're rich. There's been rich nations before. So what? Powerful? There's been very powerful nations before. They weren't exceptional. Why are we exceptional?
Because we have freedom.
Okay, go.
We fought for freedom, we fought back.
A lot of people will fight for national freedom. As I told you earlier, the Russians will die in 26 million numbers to get national freedom. So why are we exceptional? What makes us the exception of all the other nations on earth? If you were to take a line from here to there, and you were to take that line and you were to say where there is freedom, national freedom, you get a little bit of light along this real dark line. Everything's dark here except for where there's freedom. And along that, in this line is the history of mankind. So we came out of the caves and we're over here. This is where we are now. So imagine this line. There's a little bit of light here, national freedom in different places, okay? Political freedom, a little bit higher light, a little bit brighter light. Then you have individual freedom, and even shinier, brighter light. What does this line look like? It looks mostly dark. Because throughout the history of mankind, human beings have been ruled by kings, by dictators, by generals, by czars, by emperors. Why are we exceptional? We, the people, chose to rule ourselves. Do you realize how extraordinary that is? Along this line of history, that is absolutely extraordinary. A little bit of light in ancient Greece, in Athens. They decided to rule themselves, but they went for a pure democracy. And a pure democracy turns into autocracy. That means you vote on every issue. So one week they didn't think Socrates was a good guy. So they condemned him to death and he had to kill himself. And the next week they felt bad about it and said, wish we hadn't done that. So that democracy, even though it was not living under a king, couldn't last. And then you have the Roman Republic for a very short period of time, where some people who had connections and power had more rights and freedoms than others. But the society was still based on slavery and everything else. And then you come to the United States of America, where in 1776, we decide to rule ourselves. Now, we weren't perfect. They weren't demigods. The guys who were the founding fathers couldn't do everything all in one year or one war, one revolution. It took two revolutions. It took the American Revolution and the Civil War for us to be able to have the kind of nation on the right path that we should have. And many, many other struggles as we go. But the bottom line is that we are supposed to rule ourselves. And we will give this up if we're not careful. So we have to understand this extraordinary gift that your ancestors gave us, because they fought, they put themselves in harm's way to be able to bring about a situation where a nation can be born unlike any other in history, where we would rule ourselves. That's why we're exceptional. Now, if we want to keep that, we have to fight for it. And if we want to keep that We have to get other people to understand it. We have to educate. We have to talk. We have to write. We have to speak. We have to do everything we can to get people to understand what freedom is and go from fuzzy thinking to focused thinking and understand what's at stake every day. Now, let me tell you a story. The nation is divided. The Congress is in disarray. The leaders are about to be, the leaders of a large portion of the people are under arrest or going to be put under arrest. Autocracy seems to be breathing down the necks of everyone. And this is 1775. Not today. Or is it? Well, in 1775, patriots stood up and said, we're not going to live under autocracy. We are in fact going to stand for what we believe in. We're going to stand for our individual rights, our political rights, and our national rights. Now, if you stand for your national rights, your political rights, and your individual rights in the United States of America, you can still do that. You cannot do that in Venezuela. You cannot do that in Iran. You cannot do that in Russia. You cannot do that in China. You cannot do that in North Korea. There are so many other places you cannot do that. Imagine the great blessing and gift that we have. So all of you are living proof back to the lineage that sparked that wonderful, extraordinary exceptionalism. And that's why what you have is so powerful and so important. And you need to talk to everyone that you can and educate them as best you can. And you do that by telling stories. So let me tell you a story, because I promised I would. By the way, how many of you know a guy named Daniel? Daniel was an interesting fellow. Daniel, well, you might call him like a biker, kind of a biker gang guy. He was rough. He was tough. He used to drink a little bit. He used to punch people out sometimes. One day, Daniel, during a big fight that was going on, was trying to help the team win. He was putting his back into it, trying to move this wagon that was stuck in the middle of the road. And he's moving this wagon. He's trying to move this wagon. And this guy comes up to him and says, "Put your back into it, damn you." And then took his riding crop from his horse and hit him across the face. Daniel turned around and said a couple of things that I will not mention in this group. Grabbed him by the neck, threw him on the ground, and beat the living hell out of him. Now, that was a British officer. And Daniel Morgan was a young wagoneer, then in his 30s, late 20s, during the French and Indian War. And I'm an American. And this British officer came up to show him who was the upper class and who was in charge. Daniel would have nothing of it. He did get 47 lashes. Corporal punishment. And at the end of it, he laughed and said, "You should have given me one more." No kidding. True story. American Revolution happens. Morgan becomes a general in the American Army. How many of you know the story of the Battle of Cowpens? Okay, very good. Outstanding, sir, then I want you to help me. Basically, Daniel Morgan knew his men. He would talk to them. He would get to know them. He knew their families. He knew where they came from, and he knew the quality of his soldiers. He would look at the militia, for instance, and he would say, "Militia, you know, guys, you're not trained soldiers. I have two types of units in my army here. I have a very small army, only about 15,000 men. But I've got about 8,000 regulars who are trained, and I've got the rest militia. But by God, militia, you're worth your weight in gold. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your rifle, your musket, because you got a rifle actually, your rifle. See, there's a difference between a rifle and a musket. A musket is smooth bore. And it fires fast because you can actually put a ball down that smooth bore very quickly and you can fire. And that's what trained troops of the line used to shoot with. That's what trained Continental soldiers were used, because they could fire a musket and you could put a whole block of soldiers and you could move them rapidly through the battle space. They'd pick up their muskets and fire like a huge shotgun that those bullets would come out and hit the other formation. That's why they stood there and did the formation drill. They had to, because that's what the weapons were like then. But the militia, they have rifles, hunting rifles, with rifling. That's why they call them rifles. How about that? And because of that rifling, you push that thing down after about 3 shots. The powder going in and out of there, you can't get that thing down very easily. So it takes a long time to load a rifle. You could get 3 rounds a minute out of a good, well-trained Continental soldier. A British soldier could do 3 rounds a minute, almost 2 a unit. But riflemen, 1 round every 3 minutes. Yeah, now you're more accurate, longer barrel. But here's what I want you to do for old Dan. I want you to fire your rifle and fire 2 shots. That's all I want you to do. Fire a shot, reload, fire another shot, and then pull back. Because he knew the militia never stood. They didn't stand and fight. They would almost always run away. Why? Because they didn't have the training and they didn't have the bayonets. And one of the funny things about a rifle, unlike today, you couldn't put a bayonet on a hunting rifle. Bayonets were on muskets. And muskets were used by Continental soldiers. Now you can pull out a big sword or you can pull out a knife, but it ain't the same. Trust me, you got a rifle with a bayonet, you are deadly. It can be amazing. So I want the militia to go out there and fire a couple of rounds and then run away. Reform, fire a couple of rounds and run away. Now Daniel Morgan was up against one of the best units in the British Army, a guy named Bannister Tarleton. Bannister Tarleton had a group that was a combined arms group that he fought with that had both infantry, artillery, and cavalry. Infantry, artillery, and cavalry. And Bannister Tarleton was one of the smartest guys in the British Army. He knew how to fight the Continental Army. He knew how to beat Americans. And he had beaten Americans over and over and over again. What's interesting is that after the American Revolution, the British were thinking of 2 people to be in charge of the British Army against Napoleon before the Battle of Waterloo. One of those was a guy named Arthur Wellesley. You know him as the Duke of Wellington. He became famous. And you wouldn't even have beef Wellington without it. Think about it. All right. But the other guy they were thinking of picking was Bannister Tarleton. How about that? So this guy was pretty well thought of in the British realm. Anyway, Tarleton has his guys and he's hungry to kill all the Americans that Morgan commands. Because right now, Morgan has his army with his back to a river. What? How could you do that? How could you be so dumb? Morgan's got his guys on a hill and behind him is a river they can't swim through. Now, yeah, you might be able to throw down your rifle and all your gear and dive in there, but most people couldn't swim back then. And even if they could, they couldn't take their weapons with them, so they wouldn't be a fighting force. So you never put your army with the back to the river. So Tarleton is licking his chops, going, we're going to smash these guys. No problem. So Tarleton comes up and he sees the American army. And what does he see? He sees militia. He sees militia with their rifles in the front. He goes, ha, 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 militia. Push them and they'll cave. They'll fold like a cheap suit as soon as we push against them. All we got to do is push them. So he brings his men up and they start to attack. He's holding back his cavalry. They fire some cannon. The militia fires a couple of rounds like Daniel Morgan asked them to do. And then they run back. They fire a couple of more rounds. Then they run back. Tarleton sees them going. The artillery's booming. All the cavalry starts to move in and the cavalry comes around the right wing and Bannister Tarleton's cavalry has never been beaten. But right then, Morgan sends his cavalry. He had a little cavalry detachment all set up, hiding in the trees. And as the British cavalry came this way, Morgan's cavalry came out of the woods, surprised the heck out of them, broke them, and they ran. Tarleton is angry. I almost said it. He's angry. He's really angry. He says, those guys ran away. You know, he's waving his saber, trying to get him to come back, but that's okay. He'll still win the fight. Charge, bayonets, go. So the British fire their volley, and they charge, and they run over the hill, and they come down to the bottom of the hill, and what do they find? Morgan has the Continental standing like a rock. He's got a whole line of buff and blue clad Americans there with their muskets ready, because what happens is that he was on the reverse slope of the hill. So this is the front slope of the hill, this is the reverse slope. Tarleton couldn't see behind the hill. So as the British come up to the top, they see an entire line of American Continentals, and somebody says, "That's not militia." And Morgan says, "Fire!" Boom! The whole line shoots, and a whole wave of red falls. Bayonet! And they charge. And Tarleton's force breaks. Same time, the militia, which had fallen back, and they fell back behind the Continentals, now go to the flanks. So now we've got a double envelopment. We're attacking them on all sides. And the British fall apart. And Tarleton runs away. His entire command disorganized and destroyed. And because of that, because he worked for a guy named Cornwallis. Yeah, you heard that before. Cornwallis brings the British Army to a place called Yorktown. Yeah. And then Washington comes from New York, one of the most amazing moves in military history. He's up at New York. The British are in New York. A whole British army is in New York under a guy named Clinton. And Clinton sees Washington there and says, Washington's going to try to take New York. I can't move to help anybody down in Yorktown. And Washington, one night, just moves this whole army away from New York and brings it down to Yorktown. And Clinton can't do anything. And we win the Battle of Yorktown after a big fight. And that ends the American Revolution. But it wouldn't have happened if Daniel Morgan hadn't led his young men, his militia and his Continentals, in such a great way. It inspired them to fight in such a wonderful way to win the great battle of Cowpens. Now, one day, this is a true story. I was in South Carolina and I was on the beach. We were having fun, and my wife says, "You know, I really want to go to Cowpens. It's only about a 3-hour drive from the beach. You know, I really want to see Cowpens." And I said, "Oh, honey, we're having such a great time." And she said, No, we got to go to Cowpens. So I said, "All right, whatever you want, my love." So we went to Cowpens and we walked the whole battlefield. She does this a lot with me. So we walked the whole battlefield. And I told her the whole story. So Cowpens is a wonderful place to see if you ever have a chance to go there. And National Military Park. So freedom is important. Understand what freedom is. National freedom, political freedom, individual freedom, liberty. That's why we're exceptional, because we decided that we would run ourselves, that we, the people, would form a government. Not you, the king, not them, the oligarchy, not whatever else, not the really smart guys, not let's get all the scientists together and let them run. They'll be so smart, right? Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, just like COVID. Okay, think about it. So what we've got to do is we've got to remember, we the people, because when we the people actually get involved and believe in freedom and maintain our national freedom, fight for it. Our political freedom, maintain it and fight for it. Our individual liberty, maintain it and fight for it. We are unbeatable anywhere in the world. And we're blessed. Because those three things can do amazing things to a nation. America is rich and powerful not because of just our natural resources. We could have broken up into 10 different countries and be killing each other every day, and all those resources wouldn't have mattered, right? That's called Europe. Think about it. That's called Europe. That's what they did. Now we've been able to hold this republic together, for a while now. And we need to keep it together, And we need to understand what freedom is, and we need to fight for it. So I want to thank you all very much for you and what you do, because you are living representatives of what it meant to be at a time when you should not have won, when America should never have happened, when the odds were against us. Now, the odds are always against us. And why are they always against us? Think about this dark line of history. It's all dark except for a little bit of light over here and here. And it'll go away if we don't keep it. It'll go away because this is the standard. The standard is power. Somebody wants to take charge. They want to be able to put a camera on every pole. They want to be able to see what you're doing 24/7. They want you to have a digital currency so that in fact, they can control your whole life. The autocrats want that power. And they will do everything they can to get that power over time in other places in the world. If you look at China, you want to understand what a police state is. How many of you ever read 1984? George Orwell. The clocks are striking 13, ladies and gentlemen. Autocracy is on the march. You are vital assets in the fight for freedom. And you are living proof that there's a lineage back to those days when the odds were against us and we won. And the odds are always against us and we'll still win. I'm long on America because when I come to see people like you, I know we have a great future. Now you have to do again. You have to do what you can. No matter what your little aspect is in your life, you can do something. All of us can do something. So I want to thank you very much. And before I finish, I want to leave you with a great quote from a great American author who I really admire. Now, how many of you have ever read anything by Mark Twain? Yeah. Mark Twain was a genius. He was absolutely amazing. Now, here's one of the things he said that I take to heart, and I believe all of you should too. You do not honor an author by reading his book. You honor him by buying his books. So I some books here, and I'd be happy to sell for you. Now, I want you to know that not only do those books give you something great to read, but I will solve a problem for you. Yeah. You have that person in your life who's going to have a birthday or Christmas, and they have everything. They got Amazon. You can't get them anything but a signed book. By the author. Think about it. So I solve your Christmas problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a great honor to talk to you.
Thank you.
We're going by the flags.
By the flag.
Yeah, come on, let's have a good photo here.
Oh, good photo. Okay, so, again, want to give you a certificate of appreciation, for having you coffee with us tonight.
Outstanding.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank
It's a
you.
great honor. Thank you.
Turn it over to Mark.
Colonel, thank you so much.
Sure.
Would you please stand with me and lead us in our meditation this evening? Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. Thank you for our forefathers. Thank you for the many freedoms that they fought that we would have. Please go with us tonight as we travel home. Please keep us safe until we come back to meet again. Thank you for the many freedoms that you've given us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Could I add something to that if you don't?
Yes, sir.
Okay, God, thank you for everyone here, all these great patriots. Thank you for a great nation and confusion to all enemies, especially the Russians and the Chinese. Amen.
Our recessional program. Please join me in the recessional now. Until we meet again, let's remember our obligation. Davis, our Constitution, the rights, and its framework, and the nation of freedom. Here, adjourned. Thank you so much.
Cool.
And we have,
We're here to sign books and sell them to you.
we have plenty of books. Thank you.